We had about 30 people sign up for the trip to San Juan Bautista. So on April the 19th, Bob the bus driver was ready to load the residents and the wheelchairs and scooters into the bus. The trip itself would take probably an hour and 3/4 to get there, with our driver Bob driving this lovely luxury bus. It took a little while to get everything loaded and the people onto the bus, so we left about 9:15 in the morning.
Are you
Too early in the morning.
Are you the famous photographer?
Anne Morris met us on arrival, and it took a little time to get everybody unloaded and everything set up. So then after that we headed to the mission that is located in the town of San Juan Bautista.
You take some stills for the happening?
Oh yeah.
No, thank you. That'll only send me to the bathroom again.
After coffee and cookies, we went into the church, and Jewel Gentry, the executive director of the mission, talked with us about the mission at San Juan Bautista.
We're sitting in a basilica-style building. This building, though, is made completely of adobe, and it has been renovated multiple times over the generations. But the Greeks and the Romans, who's been to Rome or to Greece? When you go to Rome or Greece, the temples, where are they located? They're up on the hills, right? You have to walk up, right? Why is this church on the ground? This is all phenomenology, symbols in action. Each part of this church tells us a story as we walk in. And before I get into that, we'll walk first to the outside. When you entered into the church, you see a garden. You're approaching a garden. In the middle of that garden is the tree, right? That's the cross for us, but it represents biblically what garden would it be. So you walk through the journey of baptism, and we come into this area of the church. What part of this are we sitting in? The name, it's a nautical term, right? So that nautical term points us back to the ship, right? Does anybody know what the word parish means? Parish. It's a word we know. We use it forever. It's a church, right? I actually looked it up. and parish means it.
And of course now it was lunchtime, and so leaving the church, everybody headed down the street to the local restaurant. The food at the restaurant was Mexican and, of course, greatly enhanced by the additions of wines and beers.
I'm glad you're all here.
Yeah. Initially have set meals, so they're going to be collecting the menus. We're getting peanut butter and jelly.
After the meal at the restaurant, and I believe San Juan Bautista only has 2 restaurants, we waited outside on the street to board the bus again to take us to Anne Morris's ranch, which is run by her son Joe.
So there's the house. That's Joe and Julie's house there on the left. And then a little bit we're going to see the tent where I spent the night last June.
You were glamping?
Yep. Look for a yellow tent on the left somewhere.
There you go. Right
See
there.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
On arrival, Joe had very kindly set up rows of chairs for us to sit on, and then gave us an excellent presentation about the ranch and what it takes to run it.
Parents lived here. In the 60s, they bought this ranch, and they were ranchers. The first people to introduce me to ranching, because I grew up in San Francisco, were my mom and my grandfather and grandmother. And they had a really deep, abiding regard for the heritage of the people who took care of land and animals in California. And they taught me that same thing. And the lesson that came through was that it's a difficult job sometimes. Some days you don't want to repeat, but most days are beautiful. And if you do a job well enough, any job can be beautiful. And so that's kind of the approach that I take to life. I do a lot of jobs. Does anybody have any questions? I've been kind of... She's 7. Well, not really young, but relatively young.
We should have Rose up here.
Rose is 33.
Wow. Which is
Wow. Yes.
very old.
That's pretty amazing, and pretty unusual for a horse.
Not this one. Another one.
Joe went on to give us a roping demonstration with his lariat, and then afterwards he brought Ginger, which is the name of his horse, out of the field for us to pet her. Of course, time was passing much too quickly, and we had to head back to San Francisco again.